Thank you for staying with us. Now time to introduce my guest here. And I told you it was going to be a long night, so we're going to be keeping you awake, all right? My name is George Adder Jr. Right with me, Eddie Akins. Eddie Akins, how are you doing this evening?
Fine, thank you, George.
Obviously ready to go for the transfer countdown. And I'm looking at this all the way through because we have to keep you right there. Raymond Yamado joins me. Raymond, how are you doing as well?
I'm good, George.
And a couple other pundits will be joining us so we go through this. Guys, we have to begin with what we have to begin with. And we're still checking that clock as we go through this. What have we got? Already we're getting into some 46 minutes till the end of the transfer window. So let's talk about what we have seen already today. A couple of deals that we're looking forward to and hoping that these things were going to be sorted out. It was very, very clear, wasn't that? Kylian Mbappe was one of those we're looking forward to and wondering where it was going to end. Finally, he ends at Paris Saint-Germain. Let me start with you, Raymond. Any surprise that it happened?
Well, I wasn't surprised because you look at the player and what he wanted to do for himself. You see that he wanted to go to a big club where he could be the standout player over there. And Real Madrid came, but I think that the valuation beat Real Madrid. Real Madrid were not willing to pay so much for the 18-year-old player. But you look at what the player has done. 26 goals in 44 matches. I think he was fantastic for Monaco last season. And I was expecting a move to a big club. And I think PSG have an interesting project. Now he has the chance to team up with Neymar, Cavani, and I think that it's a good move for him. He's already played in the French La Liga. He knows about the league, and it shouldn't be difficult for him to adapt in that new system. So I think that it's a good move for Mbappe. Maybe we're expecting a bit more because of the relationship between the French and the French players and Zinedine Zidane. But it's not a bad move for him. I think he can develop at PSG and then move on to do big things in future.
Now, you know, it was easy to say Kylian Mbappe was certainly destined to go to Real Madrid. And we're looking at the underwritings of this particular move. We're wondering, is Real Madrid standing somewhere in all of this?
It's hard to see Real Madrid in all of this because for now, he's made that move to Paris Saint-Germain and we need to stick with that. It's been a very protracted transfer story for Mbappe. I think everyone who follows football very well knew Mbappe was not going to be a player or a Monaco player come the start of the new season, and that has happened. I think the move from Monaco to PSG is beginning to raise a few eyebrows, even though it's a season-long loan. I think they've got an option to make it permanent for well over £100 million, and a couple of clubs are beginning to raise eyebrows, and I think the FFP guys would really look into the deal again because they were not too comfortable with the Neymar saga, and then comes Mbappe with all this kind of money. Forget the loan move. I think it's just a decoy to a permanent deal that is going to be worth a lot of money because you look at the amount of money Monaco was quoting for other clubs, and you are very surprised that he eventually left Monaco on a season-long loan deal, and really you would do nothing but suspect that there are underhand dealings. But for the lad, I think it's a good move for him. The project at PSG is really enticing, and his move to PSG would also release a couple of players to make moves later on in the transfer window. We've heard about the likes of Angel Di Maria, who could make a move to Monaco or Barcelona come the end of the transfer window. And so there's really an orchestration with this Mbappe move, and it's going to feed into other players leaving Monaco, leaving PSG, and ending up at different clubs.
Made the point there, but we know, Raymond, that Real Madrid will be looking at putting all of this in. And just before we get back to that, I'll be introducing you to our engine room where we'll be able to give you exactly the breaking news when it drops. But let's pick the final point there. And we know that Zidane has been involved in a couple of deals already. What just then could be in this? Because we know the Real Madrid had paid 161 million pounds to settle this guy. Well, I think we'll have to quickly rush over and get into Oreko Ampofo, who is standing by in our engine room in a bit. But before we do that, let me come to you and let's talk about the Kylian Mbappe move. And I'm saying the Real Madrid had gone in, and we know that they had settled with personal terms after Juan Castro really came in to confirm that. Any hint of that? The Real Madrid will be finding a way through this?
Well, I think for as long as it remains a loan move, I think that Real Madrid are still in this move because they are very interested in the player. They think that he is going to be the heir apparent for Cristiano Ronaldo. So definitely with the French connection in the Zinedine Zidane has a lot of influence on some of these French players. And the player himself knows that Real Madrid is a big club for him. Real Madrid is a club that would fit his profile and his reputation. So I think that for Mbappe himself, he would be looking for a move to Real Madrid, which obviously is a bigger club than PSG. And for as long as it stays a lone move between Monaco and PSG, I think the doors are still open for Real Madrid to come in there anytime.
Well, we talk about deals that have been done already before we get into those breaking ones. But we have our eyes firmly on a couple of deals. I can tell you about Alexis Sanchez. And I'm saying this because Manchester City have decided not to further their request or their interest in this player. So we're finding out where he ends tonight. Thomas Lemar of Monaco is another player everybody is looking at who is going to be signing that. We know Liverpool were interested in that. Arsenal lately joined that with £92 million. Not too sure where that is going to. We know Barcelona are standing in the wings of that as well. And we'll be looking at that. Now, Virgil van Dijk of Southampton has been a subject of controversy in this transfer market, starting with Liverpool and the way they approached trying to get Virgil van Dijk. Tonight, we'll be trying to settle exactly where he goes. Now, Johnny Evans is another one. And we're hearing that Johnny Evans probably might be staying. So big questions again. And we'll be doing these analysis as we go through. Now time to get into our engine room. And we'll be going in this, 40 minutes, of course, we have to the end of the transfer window. We'll be getting in to find exactly what's happening. Oreku Ampofo is a leader in that engine room. And he's going to be telling us something very shortly. Oreku, thank you very much for joining us. How is the room doing there? Oreku, thank you very much for joining me.
We are doing very great, George.
All right. What are you picking up? Because we're looking at these transfers that might be taking place. With the Alexis Sanchez one, what have you picked up so far?
George?
We'll try to get to him. We'll try to get him and sort that out so that it can be seamless as we go through that. And as we're putting that in it, I was just talking about the deals that we're dealing with. But let's talk about those who have already moved then. Oxlade-Chamberlain, one that came in very early today. And I don't know if it's a big disappointment really to Chelsea and fans and Chelsea that they failed to make this deal work. Liverpool found a way through this. And he's very happy and singing, all the way to Anfield.
Yeah,
Eddie Akins.
I think it's quite disappointing for Chelsea fans and manager alike. The club made public their intention to sign Oxlade-Chamberlain, but I think the move was down to the lad's personal ambitions and personal desire, and I think he weighed a lot of things. He looked at a lot of things and decided to play for Liverpool, where he could play in his favoured midfield position. Conte wanted him to be a backup to Victor Moses, and I think Oxlade-Chamberlain was not ready to be that backup. Already he was playing in that position at Arsenal, and that was one of the main reasons why he decided to leave Arsenal. And so to leave Arsenal playing that same position and come to Chelsea and play in that same position would not really be a good deal for him. So I think going to Liverpool means that he sees that there is a chance for him to play in his favourite position right there in Liverpool. And with Chelsea, you would see that straight away that starting 11 picks itself out. And so he looks at that team and says, if I go to Chelsea, chances are I might spend a lot more time on the bench than on the pitch. And so I make my way to Liverpool, where the competition for places is still very much alive. So everything was down to Oxlade-Chamberlain, and he made his choice. And I think we have to respect his choice.
Oxlade-Chamberlain is now a Liverpool player. And of course, in the next hour, when we look at the teams and what they have got, will be really interesting with what Liverpool are putting out there in their attacking department. Anyway, we could say Liverpool have had some good business already, haven't they?
Well, I think the business Liverpool are doing is giving us a hint that something major is going to happen before deadline day ends. And I have a feeling that Coutinho is definitely going to move, because if you look at the reasons why Chelsea opted out of this Oxlade-Chamberlain move, I think that the player wanted to play in the middle of the park, and if Arsenal have talent, if Liverpool have lots of players out wide, there's Mane, there's Salah, then obviously if they are bringing in a player who has to play in the middle, then I think that Coutinho is definitely going to leave. There has to be a space for someone to actually occupy. But then again, it depends on the kind of player they are going to get. Oxlade-Chamberlain has stayed at Arsenal for 6 years, and the player's development hasn't really been good enough. The player has been there. He's only managed 20 goals and 26 assists. All this while he's been at Arsenal, and I think that for the player himself, it's been underwhelming. So I think that Liverpool themselves have taken a big risk. They don't know what kind of player they are going to get. Are they going to get the Chamberlain that showed a lot of potential, or the man who just fizzled out at Arsenal? So I think for Liverpool, there are lots of questions to be answered there. But then again, I think that this move is very important for Liverpool. If on deadline day, it's very difficult to replace players. If Coutinho has to leave today, then it means that Chamberlain would be a good addition to their setup.
We'll be giving you a great look at exactly what has happened today as we try to count this down. We've done we are left with some 36 minutes in the final hour, counting to the end of the transfer window. And we're told that Drinkwater is on the Chelsea training ground at the moment, getting ready for a medical. That's one that's really coming in right now. So we could say maybe Chelsea very close to Drinkwater's deal.
Yeah, very close to Drinkwater, and it makes a lot of sense, because at the start of the season there was a talk about Chelsea being short of options in the middle of the park, and so the team set out to look for a lot more bodies to put in that midfield, and they identified Drinkwater as a potential replacement because of his partnership with N'Golo Kante and his tenacity and that ability to dictate play from the middle of the park. And so it made a lot of sense to throw Drinkwater into the mix. It's been quite long, but I think Chelsea are gradually getting the deal over the line for Drinkwater. As to whether he's going to come in and be a starter, it remains for us to see. But even if he is to come in and be a squad player, I think it's a great thing for Conte. It's a great thing for Chelsea, and it gives Conte again a lot more options to juggle the team with, because he's going to add Champions League football to the list of competitions he has this season, and so he needs a big squad to compete in all these competitions.
Talking about the players and how it's all been going again, it's been Chelsea trying to look for a player and not being able to sign the player. We know that Llorente actually made his way to Tottenham Hotspur, and one that Chelsea missed out in again.
I think that's quite a strange one for me, because Llorente has been globetrotting all this while. He's been at Juventus, he's been at Sevilla, he's been at Swansea last season. I think he was fantastic for Swansea last season. He managed 15 goals and 1 assist in that campaign. And I think that for a player like him, you don't bring him to the club to be the main man, to be the starter, or to be the regular man. He's supposed to be a backup for Morata, for Batshuayi and the likes. So for me, Chelsea is struggling to sign a deal for a player who is past his prime. I think Llorente is past his prime. He's been out and about, running around trying to find clubs he can actually ply his trade. But I think that, for Chelsea to miss out on a move like this, it's quite strange. But again, that tells you how strong Tottenham have been in the market. Tottenham are looking for backup for Harry Kane. Harry Kane has been short on goals in the last couple of matches. Again, Vincent Janssen hasn't delivered. So if this is a player who has proven beyond reasonable doubt that he can get the goals when the going gets off, I think that Llorente last season single-handedly secured qualification for Swansea out of relegation zone. So I think that it's a good addition for Tottenham. That shows that they are a team that can compete with the big teams for any talent at all that they want. And I think that it's disappointing Chelsea couldn't get such a player, but it's good news for Tottenham Hotspur.
We're monitoring everything that's happening. We're counting down. We're very close to some 33 minutes to the end of the European transfer window, and we're bringing you the updates as we go through this. May you be informed, though, that the Spanish transfer window will end 24 hours later. We'll be explaining into detail why all of that's happening. Now, a critical situation rising again for one Chelsea target again. Ross Barkley we had heard early on that he wasn't interested in moving into Chelsea, but it seems like there's been a change of mind, and we're just learning that there's a medical that's about to go down. So what really is going through the mind of Ross Barkley? Now, let's try and put it here, because when Oxlade-Chamberlain is running away from playing out wide at Chelsea, I'm wondering what Ross Barkley has been going through all this while. Let me start with you, Eddie, on that, because it is certain that Everton do not necessarily need Ross Barkley. He must move tonight, but the question is where?
I think moving to Chelsea offers him another chance to show what he can do. Obviously, Ross Barkley was going to be surplus to requirements because Koeman did not need him at Everton, and so he had to move. But moving at this time shows you the player has been quite lonely for some time, and he needed to make this move. It's quite a desperate move to me from Barkley, and it's good. He's moving to a club the stature of Chelsea. He's going to continue his education there, his exposure to the Champions League and all that. But question is he going to get enough playing time? Now, you're leaving an Everton team that gave you all the minutes to shine, and walking into a Chelsea team that is going to get Fabregas, Drinkwater, Bakayoko, N'Golo Kante, all these bodies in midfield. The question is this the right move for Barkley? Because we had the likes of Tottenham also in the mix, but I think they were quite frustrated with the players' inconsistency and decided to pull the plug on that move.
But I think with Ross Barkley, I think that it was quite clear last season that he wasn't going to be at Everton because Koeman admitted that he wanted a new challenge, he wanted a new adventure. But the price tag Everton has slapped on him, £50 million, was too much for a player who has been hot and cold. Okay, for a player who was once touted as the replacement for Paul Gascoigne, a player who was once touted as the young Wayne Rooney. You know, he hasn't lived up to that billing. He hasn't lived up to that potential. And so I think that the inconsistency the player has shown has actually made it very difficult for clubs to come for him. But again, this move to Chelsea, a few minutes ago, I heard Chelsea were not willing to match the £50 million, and now he's up for a medical. I think that tells you how desperate Chelsea are at this moment. And Chelsea are desperate simply because they allowed a certain Nemanja Matic to leave, and they are now trying to plug the hole. And, you know, last season, Chelsea didn't play too many matches, but their participation in Europe and the expectation of fans for them to win a domestic title is actually putting a lot of pressure on Conte. So he wants to fortify that middle of the pack. And I don't know how Ross Barkley is going to fit in, because if you look at the players that Chelsea want to acquire, from Drinkwater to Bakayoko, who is already there, to Kante, I think that he's going to drop down the pecking order. And I don't know if this is actually going to be the best move for Ross Barkley. I have my doubts.
well, you don't agree with that?
No, I
don't agree.
I agree to an extent, but I want to focus on the player Ross Barkley and if this move to Chelsea actually.
I mean, just before you go on, it's not quite a done deal yet. I mean, what we are picking up is that the player is confused at the moment, and these happen actually on transfer deadline.
That's the drama that comes with it.
He is confused. I mean, he's confused in and within, and that's the point. So we really need to see how that goes, where they're going. And just picking out that Radamel Falcao is still just over and about. So that's quite interesting. Let's go there.
Radamel Falcao again. Well, I think he surprised us. He surprised us three seasons ago when he made that move to Manchester United on transfer deadline. I think if he does it again, you know, then Radamel Falcao will be the hero of the deadline day transfers.
Okay, so you make that point quickly because as it goes in, you know, as it goes in and out, and it's just unfortunate because of the stuff that's happening right now, what's going on now in terms of the breaking news and all. It's difficult to really have a look at what we want to discuss in terms of the players that had moved, but that's just the nature of it. And I'm hoping that for Barkley, he's able to make his mind once and for all. He has before him a Chelsea medical anyway.
I really don't think moving to Chelsea will be a wise move for Barkley. Really, I think with a player needing minutes and needing to show his potential, moving to a club that would afford him that time and that space and that confidence and trust would have been wiser. I think suitors would have come along if his agent and himself were proactive in the transfer window. You could have a couple of mid-table clubs talk about Swansea City, who today tied up a deal for Renato Sanchez. I think Barkley could have moved into a setup like that and had a lot of minutes to play, because the World Cup is on the horizon. He needs to play to get into that England team. The question is, will he get to play at Chelsea? Will he get to play a lot more even for Chelsea? And will he be recognized as a first choice over Fabregas and Drinkwater if the move goes through?
Breaking news there coming in right now. Ross Barkley rejects the move to Chelsea. That's the latest down.
And I think that would be a very clever
so we have seen it go in and out. I mean, just to state the facts, that Ross Barkley wanted to, decided not, before a medical now, finally decides to reject the move to Chelsea.
And again, the move for Chelsea's Drinkwater, I think that Leicester City might pull out of this move if they are unable to sign Adrian Silva from Sporting Lisbon.
We'll get onto the Adrian Silva. Yes. That's one. And that's really Leicester City's lining. That's one. But we've got Kusiata joining us. He's a Madrid fan, and he's joining us right now to do some analysis. And as we go through, we'll see how it all picks through as we try to bring you everything. We're also trying to establish the links with our engine room, and then we'll get in for you. But of course, we are keeping our eyes exactly on where these moves are going. Very, very important. So, Kusi, thank you very much for joining us. How are you doing this evening, Kusi? Okay, difficult to hear Kusi. Kusi, how are you doing? That's all difficult. Let's hold on. Let's hold on with that. We'll get back to Kusi. But in just confirming this, and let's deal with that Leicester City bit. They need to sign Adrian. If they haven't signed Adrian, Chelsea won't have Drinkwater.
Yes, I think that's supposed to be the ideal case, because you look at Leicester City, and ever since Kante left the club, they have struggled to fill that defensive midfield position. And so if Drinkwater has deputized in that position, despite the fact that he's not an out-and-out defensive midfielder, I think that is a player they would want to hold on to, because you know what he did for them in the season that they won the league. He was very phenomenal in that center of the park. So losing him and not having a replacement on transfer deadline day would be suicidal for Leicester City. And so I think that they would want to get their target Adrian Silva in. If they don't get that player, then I think that Chelsea cannot have Drinkwater as well, because Chelsea have lots of options in the middle of the park, and Leicester City are short in that department.
Just before you come in, we're still awaiting official confirmation of Wilfred Bonney's return to Swansea City from Manchester City, and we're obviously looking at exactly how it comes in there. If you were following the Twitter page of Wilfred Bonney, you could feel it's coming, and that's what we've seen the players do lately. What they'll do is take a picture with the team they want to, with the jersey of the team they want to be with. Like, I think we saw that in Nemanja Matic, we saw that in Oxlade-Chamberlain as well. Yeah. So following that, it looks like very soon we might confirm that. That Wilfred Bonney moved there. You were making your point before I had to cut on that.
Yeah, it makes sense if Leicester City want to get the deal for Adrian Silva wrapped up before they let go of Danny Drinkwater, because at this point in time, at this moment, clubs would want to sign the replacements before they allow their players to go on, and it makes a lot of sense, because if you're losing a player and not signing a replacement, the window shuts now, and so then you're going to have a very thin squad. And so it makes a lot of sense. I still think Danny Drinkwater would be a Chelsea player come tomorrow, but Adrian Silva holds the key to that. Is Adrian Silva going to move to Leicester City? I think so.
More information about Wilfred Bonney. And we've been monitoring Wilfred Bonney from Swansea City to Manchester City. I mean, then he moved in slightly to Stoke, and we expected him to really score goals and be the guy. It's not really worked for him, and as we speak, he's now in the quarters of Swansea City. So any moment from now, we're expecting him to just sign. If he does, that move has gone through. Yeah,
well, I think Swansea themselves are doing some good business this summer, bringing in Bonney back. I think Bonney was a very good player for them.
And you have the Renato Sanchez. That was another big one for Swansea City anyway.
Yes. I think it was a big coup for them, because Renato Sanchez was targeting a permanent move away from Bayern Munich and Juventus and Manchester United were in the thick of things. They wanted to sign the player, but I think the player opted for a club where he could get more playing time. I think playing time has been hard to come by at Bayern Munich, and if he goes to a bigger club like Manchester United or Juventus, and again he fails to get playing time, then I think that the player's career would be stunted at some point. The player cannot develop into the world-class talent that he's actually shown in the beginning of his career. So I think that for a team like Swansea, he can get regular playing time. Swansea themselves are struggling to replace Sigurdsson. Sigurdsson left the club and there's a hole in that middle of the park. If Sanchez can go into Swansea and make that position his own, play consistently week in, week out, deliver the goods like he's known for, then I think that he'll be a good signing and that would aid his development as a player. And I think that Swansea are doing some good business this summer.
If you're just joining us, Transfer Countdown here on the Joy News channel and Multi TV, and there's quite a lot to look forward to. We've tried to confirm a couple of deals, and there are more to come. I was just turning to you to talk about Swansea City and talk about Bonny. What has gone wrong for him in his years?
Was that move to Man City the best move for him? That's the first question we should ask, because he was moving into a whole new setup. Was he going to be that key man? Was he going to enjoy the minutes that he used to enjoy at Swansea City? And the answer was no. And so the story turned out to be. He's back at Swansea. He's back to home comforts. He made his mark at Swansea City. The fans love him there. He's used to their style of play. And so it makes a lot of sense. I think it gives the club some lift now, because they've got a young striker in Tammy Abraham that they cannot depend on for the whole season. So getting an experienced Premiership campaigner in Wilfred Bonny makes a lot of sense. And I think it's going to prove to be a master stroke, because Wilfred Bonny playing without pressure is a handful. And he would be very keen to make a mark again at Swansea, to get in the faces of the lads at City.
But again, it depends on which Bonny is going to turn out. Is it going to be the Bonny that was at Swansea before joining Manchester City, or the Bonny that we saw at Stoke City? Because last season he was at Stoke City and he was a pale shadow of himself. He was awful at Stoke City last season. He only managed 2 goals. And I think that was very disappointing. 10 appearances and 2 goals. I think that was very disappointing for the player. I think the player himself has lost a lot of confidence. And if Paul Clement can get that out of him, then I think that we're going to see a very good Wilfred Bonny.
It's 20 minutes exactly to the end of the transfer window, and we're trying to confirm and see what we have for you in terms of players moving here and there. And quite a lot has been happening. Chelsea are still struggling in this transfer window, and I'm just wondering what has gone wrong for Chelsea. Any player they're looking for has not really been interested in signing for them. We've seen a couple of them being snatched right under their fingers, right under their very own eyes. And other players, even at the verge of having a medical, have decided not to sign for Chelsea. The latest of those players, Everton's Ross Barkley. And I'm wondering, if Barkley's not playing for Everton and he's not signing for Chelsea, where's he going to, Eddie?
It's going to be still in the Premiership. I think he will stay in the Premier League, but it would make sense to move to a mid-table club that would afford him a lot more minutes, would give him a lot more confidence to play his game. And with the World Cup coming up, he would need to play week in, week out. He would need to have the chance again to prove what a good player he is. So it makes a lot of sense if he's not going to Chelsea, because that move would not have presented a lot of game time for him. So the next destination should be a club that would give him a lot more game time.
But I think Barkley is not being chased out of Everton. The player himself made a decision to leave the club. So I think that if he doesn't secure a move out of Everton, Ronald Koeman will be very happy to have him back, because the players he has brought in are yet to settle into the team. I think he brought in David Klaassen from Ajax. He's still yet to understand the English game. And I think that having Barkley in their fold, if a move doesn't go through for him, should be good news for Ronald Koeman.
But it will be difficult for Koeman, because he's made it quite clear that the lad is not integral to his plans this season. And so to make a sharp U-turn like that would not really augur well for the lad's psyche and all that.
I really don't know if we go back to this Ross Barkley situation, or that's the end of it, because we're still picking that maybe Chelsea could still do something about this. I don't know who is desperate. And let's be fair to Antonio Conte. What is he truly seeking to achieve here? He doesn't have too many gaps in his first 11. Should be definitely trying to bolster the squad and get a good team that has depth for the Champions League.
I think his main focus would be the depth in squad, because last season we also saw what happened to Chelsea. They played very few matches. The squad wasn't really stretched, so he had a consistent starting 11 week in, week out. But you look at what's going to happen this season. He has to shuffle in between games. He has to play in the Champions League and then play in the Premier League. This is a very difficult task to perform, because then again there are injuries that are going to come in. There are suspensions, and then you need a big squad to be able to deal with all this. And you look at a manager like Conte. Conte knows all about winning. This is the manager who knows all about winning, and he knows that you need quality players both on the pitch and both on the bench to be able to deliver. So this is the man who wants to bolster his squad. He needs all these boys. He needs all the best players that he can get. He wants to assemble all the best arsenals at his disposal just to be able to mount a title defense or do well in the Champions League. So I think that for Conte, his preoccupation is not getting world-class talent, but get players who can fit in if a player is out, injured, or if a player is out, suspended, or if a player dips in form. I think that's the primary focus for Antonio Conte.
I think, and more importantly, I think with this Barkley move hanging now, the question to be asked is there a disagreement between manager and sporting director once again? Could it be a story that Drinkwater's move would not eventually happen, and so someone is trying to force Ross Barkley through the door? And it's quite interesting because as it stands, Drinkwater is not a Chelsea player, but we're hearing news about Ross Barkley trying to go through that door, and it's quite interesting. Is there any disagreement between manager and sporting director? It's a question.
Well, that's been the problem with Chelsea, and Jose Mourinho complained about that. Antonio Conte said he didn't want to have a Jose Mourinho kind of season that he did. We've done, and it's exactly what seems to be unfolding clearly with what they've got.
Yes.
Because you clearly see that.
Okay, but wait. I mean, I like what Eddie's saying. Eddie's making the point that look, something could be happening.
Yeah.
Someone is trying to push in a player. We've seen Chelsea actually go for some players that never came back, that didn't really come back to get them what they had to. But this is a truly frustrating moment for Chelsea, isn't it?
It's a very difficult moment for Chelsea, because you look at what has happened in the last few seasons, and you can actually tell that there's quite a disconnect between the sporting director and Antonio Conte. Because when Conte first came to the club, he requested for players. He requested for Koulibaly. They didn't offer him Koulibaly. They brought him David Luiz. He had to make do with it. He wanted a right back. He wanted Alexandro. They didn't get him that. They brought him Alonso. I think all these players he's been able to manage, but at this point in time, Antonio Conte knows that the job is actually going to be bigger than it was last season. So he has to get his target in. Now, if his target is Drinkwater, knowing very well what Drinkwater did with Kante at Leicester City, and that move maybe it's not going to materialize, and someone wants to bring in Ross Barkley because they just want to bring a player in, or because they want to make up for the loss of Matic, then you can actually see that there's a problem in there. There's something in there. Let me hold you guys. Let me hold you guys. Let me hold you guys. Quickly move into our room there, our engine room. Let me talk to Oreku Ampofo, who has been monitoring what's been happening. Oreku, thank you very much for joining us. Now, I hope you're doing good where you are. Yes, Oreku, I hope you're doing good where you are. Okay, it's still difficult to get to him. Oreku, make the point that you make.
Yeah. So it's a very interesting point. Now, we heard during the transfer window that Chelsea's valuation of Drinkwater fell short of Leicester's valuation. Now, Leicester valued Drinkwater quite close to £40 million, and Chelsea's valuation was quite lower than that. Now, you look at Ross Barkley, and I think he's going to come cheaper than Drinkwater. So the question is someone trying to force Ross Barkley in because he represents a cheaper option to Drinkwater? Because they are quite similar in what they do on the pitch, or what they're going to be doing for Chelsea. But I think now here it's down to the transfer fee. Does the sporting director think paying over the odds for a 28-year-old Drinkwater make any sense, or getting a young player with enough potential for lesser than that makes a lot of sense? And does that sit very well with the manager, not getting Drinkwater will he really bring in Ross Barkley and play him regularly? Because we have a case study with Michi Batshuayi, who really was more of a club target than a coach's target. And we all know how it ended in the course of the season. He had limited time to show all of us what he could do. And we're here again with that same situation. I think Emenalo, the sporting director, is trying to go for Ross Barkley because that has been the chorus the whole transfer window. I think Chelsea balked at huge transfer figures lately, and they look to do deals for far cheaper, and that's what could be happening with this Ross Barkley move.
Well, there we go. We've got some 12 minutes to the end of the transfer window, and we're counting down to that. And we have to talk about what we've seen so far. Now, interesting stuff. It's difficult for Chelsea to pull through a couple of deals, and they're yet to completely sign Drinkwater from Leicester City. And we know very well Leicester City are looking over their shoulders, are hoping that the Andrian's move will go through. Maybe that releases it. Ross Barkley, another Chelsea target, has clearly told Chelsea he's not interested in that deal. We're here wondering exactly where Ross Barkley will be ending because of what we've got. Now, as we go through this as well, we're looking at Alexis Sanchez and the fact that Manchester City have not truly have decided not to really go into it again. They're not interested. They've allowed the player to stay. Question is, would he stay at Arsenal or would the club get to find him in? A couple of deals that have gone through as well today. We know that Swansea City are bagging in so big. Yes, Wilfred Bony is almost on the verge of signing for Swansea City. Now that makes the job quite easy for Paul Clement after he got in a couple of deals in here for him today as well. Renato Sanchez is the man getting into this. So more coming your way then. And as we get into this, we'll be going down in that one and we can get into it. Let me get to you first. Oreku is on now and I hope this works now. Oreku, thank you very much for joining us. Yes, I still think it's difficult to get to Oreku. Oreku, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you, George.
So, Oreku, let's break it down. What are you picking up first in that English Premier League corner? What are you getting from the various clubs and everything? We know it's difficult for Chelsea at the moment.
Yeah, as you stated, it's extremely difficult for Chelsea to sign players. Just another player rejecting them, and that comes in was Barkley, and he stated that he would prefer a move in January. We can't really tell whether he feels it's medical or whether he just doesn't want to play at Chelsea. Considering in the World Cup year, he might struggle to get into the starting 11. But then he also coming in is that Drinkwater is close to the Chelsea training ground in order to seal a move. And it could happen because I think this is the last option to be able to get a central midfield player. And that's what's coming in for Chelsea right now.
So, all right, and we have to talk about the Riyad Mahrez move. Anything you've heard about, anything you've noted at the moment right now?
Unfortunately, we still not have any advances on the Mahrez move. We are still waiting whether he's going to complete his Barcelona move or it still could be Arsenal, it still could be Liverpool, it still could be Chelsea. So it looks like it's going to be a dramatic end to Mahrez.
To that, and of course we have under 10 minutes to the end of the transfer window,
yeah.
And will be quite a lot to look forward to that. What have you heard though? What have you picked up about Alexis Sanchez of Arsenal?
Alexis Sanchez, it looks like he's going to stay because that Lamar rejected the chance to come to Arsenal because he doesn't really fancy playing in the Europa League. So the £92 million move was rejected and it has broken down, unfortunately. And that means that Alexis Sanchez would have to stay because Liverpool don't have enough, Arsenal don't have enough money and time to be able to get another player that's a replacement to maybe a Draxler. But I think it's all too late now and Sanchez will still be an Arsenal player in 10 minutes.
Okay, Oreku, thank you very much. We'll come back to you just to find out which deals you have confirmed, especially when the transfer window has come to a close. We can talk about Leicester City, not talking about the player, giving out a player. They managed to sign a defender, Alexander Drakovic, on loan. I don't know if this changes the situation. Doesn't make it any easy for Chelsea to swoop any of their players.
Well, I think it makes it easy for Chelsea now because they have a player who can actually deputize in that center of the park. I think Dragovic is a very good player when it comes to defensive midfield as well. He can play into both positions. So I think that it's a good signing for them. But again, I have picked that.
Does that give the green light that Drinkwater can finally be moving?
I think Silva is also in. So I think that Drinkwater would eventually move to Chelsea. I think it's almost a done deal for them. Done
deal and good deals for Swansea City, as we were just making the point. But let's talk about Tottenham Hotspurs. Let's talk about Tottenham Hotspur. What they've been able to do, we had said generally they were so slow in this transfer market, and we're wondering if they had settled for the worst in terms of allowing the teams above them to be doing more in terms of fortifying their teams. They hadn't done anything, but they've showed us they've got the power to do something. What you make of that, Sergio Aurier getting into the team?
Great signing. Sergio Aurier is absolutely a phenomenal right back. I think what Kyle Walker offers, he offers that and even more. Only thing with Sergio Aurier is that he comes with a package. He comes with a lot of issues, and if Sergio Aurier can get his head screwed on very, very well, he should be an asset to this Tottenham team. I think Pochettino and his style of play would suit Sergio Aurier's qualities very, very much. And with whatever happened with Sergio Aurier back at PSG, I think the lad will be willing to put all that behind him and get going at Tottenham. And for Tottenham, that's a good replacement for Kyle Walker. I know Kevin Wimmer had to also leave, so they needed someone to step in and someone who could slot in right away. And I think Sergio Aurier fits that bill.
Tottenham Hotspurs, and they're trying to get in some more players to see if they can go all the way. Exactly what we're doing here as well. We're counting down 6 minutes to the end of the transfer window, and it will be very, very interesting. What have you got there?
Yeah, still on Tottenham. I think they brought in a very intelligent young defender, Davinson Sanchez, and I think those who watched the Europa Champions League finals against Ajax versus Manchester United would have seen this play. I think he was a fantastic defender in that game. He was phenomenal. He matched Rashford for pace. He matched all the Manchester United defenders for pace, and this is a player who was courted by Barcelona even before Tottenham secured the signature. And they brought in him for £42 million. That should tell you the quality they have invested in. So I think that Pochettino is preoccupied with strengthening his rear guard. I think that Trippier has stepped up, so there's a lot of competition in there for him. Davinson comes in, Alderweireld, Vertonghen would be very good examples for them to learn from. So I think that it's been good business for Tottenham, especially knowing very well that they have problems at the back that they need to fix. And I think that these boys are very good additions to their squad.
5 minutes to the end of the transfer window here, and we'll be counting down, especially in the final minutes as we try to see when the clock is ticking. So quick deals done now. Ross Barkley completely turning down Chelsea. He won't move to Chelsea, and that's the latest coming your way. Anyway, Chelsea are very close to signing Drinkwater, and we have the sense that this might happen because Leicester City have signed Alexander Dragovic. That opens the door, shut it. Alexis Sanchez looks like he will stay at Arsenal after all, unless there is absolute drama, and there is a lot of room for drama tonight. We can talk about Mbappe. If you don't know, he's joined Paris Saint-Germain on loan, and we're here asking ourselves the question, has Real Madrid got a hand in all of this? Will that loan truly prove vital for the player? Now, we're yet to find out what happens with Van Dijk. For all the noise Liverpool have done, and for all that they have made in terms of attacking prowess and getting in players, their defense is as bad as the word bad. They need to work on that. And as we speak, no move yet about Van Dijk. If Liverpool are working quietly in the background, we're not too sure about that. Now, Crystal Palace have accepted the 26 million Sacco bid. Now, we'll look at that to see what it really means in there. And for Chelsea fans, if there was nothing to laugh about, I don't know about the Zappa Costa deal. It's not the kind of Costa that replaces Diego Costa. It's one that you deal with just like that. Let's talk about Liverpool and Van Dijk.
Well, before we came on air, I picked from my sources that Van Dijk, the deal was off. And I think that should be a blow to Liverpool. And I think Liverpool would have themselves to blame because you look at Liverpool over the last few seasons. Consistently, they have had a smooth transfer of players from Southampton to Liverpool. We can talk about Lallana, we can talk about Ricky Lambert, good old Ricky Lambert, who was supposed to replace Suarez. We can talk about Dejan Lovren. You see, these are players who move smoothly. But the problem with Southampton here is that they had a problem with Liverpool approaching their player illegally, even before the transfer window started. And so I think that got them upset, and they decided to frustrate Liverpool. And I think that if it gets to the point where they don't want to release Van Dijk, then I think that Liverpool have shot themselves in the foot, because if they had taken their time, I think this player would have been theirs. And I think the price tag isn't too much. Asking for 50 million pounds for Van Dijk, who is tried and tested in the English Premier League, shouldn't be too much for Liverpool to pay. But if this is where we have reached, where the player doesn't want, the player even handed a transfer request, but Southampton are still playing hardball, that should tell you that Southampton are bent on not releasing the player to Liverpool. Maybe to any other team, but certainly not to Liverpool. So, and Manchester City have had options in the middle of the defense. Chelsea as well have decided to give up on the player. So I think that as things stand now, Van Dijk is certainly going to be a Southampton player next season.
That's a big blow for Liverpool. Then, you know, when we get to do the analysis, though, really about what each club has got in this transfer window, the question will be then what went wrong for Liverpool when they knew they've got a bad defense and they have to fix that.
I think it was a case of Liverpool not valuing or placing much value on Virgil van Dijk. Southampton named their price for the defender. It was up to Liverpool to agree to that valuation, but eventually Liverpool did not agree, and any move for Van Dijk would have hinged on a big money deal for Coutinho, which would have brought in a lot more money, and then they could try to sign Van Dijk out of that deal. It's quite disappointing for some Liverpool fans, but I think it's plain and simple. Liverpool did not value Virgil van Dijk at £50 million.
Liverpool struggling, and sometimes I find it difficult to understand if it's a rich club or it's a poor club. They've got money in excess and they're able to buy a player with I don't know. I'm only asking. I don't know. I need to know. They have enough money. They're able to buy a player, club record fee, and the player can hold on and play next year.
You know, same thing happened with Naby Keita, and they will be getting him for far less than what Leipzig was quoting in this new deal. I think upwards of £40 million is what the new deal would be about, and it tells you how difficult they are at the negotiating table, and that's what they've done all through the window. If they don't value you at some cost or at some amount, they clearly would not make or shell out a lot of money to get you, and that's what happened with Van Dijk, and that's what happened with Naby Keita. That's why they're not getting him this season, and the fans would have difficulty in living with that. But for the club and the managers of the club, they'll see that as a chance to not to be exploited by any player. Because if you have a Virgil van Dijk who you value at less than 50 million, a defender of his caliber. And
right, Eddie Akins, I'll stop you shortly there because we have to quickly run through that. We've got 23 seconds and we're just counting down to the end of the transfer window here on our show. We'll be giving you exactly what we've got for you, but not too sure. And I've told you often, always, when we've gotten to the end of the transfer window, we can confirm deals. It's 9 seconds, 8 seconds, and it's ticking. All they've got to do, all that the players really needed to do, time seems to be running out for them. And there we go, the end of the transfer window. So let's do this very quickly and try to update you on what we've gotten so far for you. And it was very, very difficult for Chelsea, unless there have been dramatic moves that we are not sure about. Here they go. Chelsea were able to get in Zappacosta. That was probably the good thing that they able to get, maybe for today. It was difficult to drink water unless the water has been drunk. If they have gotten drink water, we will confirm that for you, because loads of deals will be locked in there and we'll give you the confirmation on that. Then Ross Barkley was very close to starting a medical for Chelsea. He was in two minds, had to decide what to do. In the end, he decided that he didn't want to go with Chelsea. Chelsea in real trouble. Arsenal had to do something. Well, they probably scored one high. Alexis Sanchez was actually not interested in Manchester City's move, or Manchester City were not interested anymore because they felt that the prices were absolutely skyrocketing. So they left that out. Then Arsenal also decided not to be interested in that Thomas Lemar move. Not too sure what has happened with Thomas Lemar. For we do know, Liverpool were interested, Barcelona are interested, and they still have a lot of time to go through this as they get into it. So, and having on your screen right now, as you see on the screen, we're looking at the signings that have gone through this transfer window. We'll sit down and take a proper look at that. But let me try to give you the updates on what we got. Swansea came in with some good business, I have to say, under Paul Clement, and we saw what happened. Wilfred Bonney doing absolutely well and getting through that. And we know that Renato Sanchez as well signed for Swansea. So let's go through what the clubs have got right now before we get back to our engine room to confirm one or two, because quite of those will be coming to that. So let's start with Chelsea. What were they able to do in this transfer market, at least till the transfer window came off? Willie Caballero was the man, a goalkeeper from Manchester City, for free. It was done easily. Ethan Ampadu from Exeter, now undisclosed fee. These ones are players obviously for the future. You will not see them in the Champions League, will you? Antonio Rudiger from Roma, and we've seen him play already in the Premier League. There was Timio Bakayoko from Monaco, Alvaro Morata from Real Madrid, and that was actually how much Chelsea were able to give, £75 million in there. We can look at the other clubs and what they have done so far. Manchester United, it's been, I think, fairly good. They've been able to smile. They've been so quiet on deadline day, except they'll be able to do some things that we're not too sure about. Here we've got, they had Victor Lindelof for Benfica. They have Romelu Lukaku, Nemanja Matic, all signing in for Manchester United. And it looks a solid team. Anyway, they were talking a lot about getting in a striker. Ivan Perisic had been going on and on. How about Manchester City? They had a defenders party. They had to really, really build the team all around again. And I was just hinting, they decided not to go for Alexis Sanchez. So that's what we've got for Manchester City. If we can see that again, we're just going to hit that for you. That's Chelsea coming back on the screen. So here we go, Manchester City. And we can take our time to go through what they've done. Transfer countdown here on Joy News. Bernardo Silva, Ederson, Kyle Walker, Douglas Luiz, Danilo, Benjamin Mendy. These were the guys who moved in for Manchester City. What next do we have in terms of the clubs and what they have done? The transfer, market for this season. And it's absolutely crucial, especially for the English Premier League clubs and those who are fighting for it and where they find themselves. So more coming your way in terms of the stuff that we've got for you. Okay, so let's do this. Let's do this very quickly, and we can move into some more clubs. Right. If you're just joining us, we need to put that for you and put that very quickly. This is what we've got. We've got Liverpool here for you, and this is what they got. Chelsea were not too keen on getting in so many players, but of course they dished out quite a number of young players. Dominic Solanke out from Chelsea into Liverpool, who are smiling. Mohamed Salah from Roma. We had Andrew Robertson. Not that we've seen, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain also moving in there for Liverpool. Fantastic stuff they've got. Hey, we can talk about Arsenal. And, well, Kolasinac is the man who actually moved in for them. And Alexander Lacazette, who will still stay on the bench, according to Arsene Wenger, even when they're down by 4-0. Wondering how all of this has gone through. But somehow, maybe Alexis Sanchez not moving will be good for them. Let's confirm more of the deals and what we've got. And we can get into AC Milan. It will be interesting when we begin this Italian story, because AC Milan were hoping to rebuild. And they had close to 10, 11 signings going in. Leading that all, we had Leonardo Bonucci from Juventus. That was a stunner, confusing everyone. Andre Silva for Porto, Ricardo Rodriguez, we had Frank Kessie, and we had Matteo Musacchio, also from Villarreal, in and more of what we've got there for you. So just about the deals that we've got now. Very soon we'll get into the details. Monaco had also been definitely a blood donating club. They donated so many players across, and quite a lot benefited, but they tried to bring in some as well. Now, Rachid Gizal from Lyon on free, Adama Diakabi also from Rennes. We had Terence Congolo from Feyenoord. We had Jordi Mbula from Barcelona. Diego Beneglo also from Wolfsburg. We had Solilo Metier. We had Jordi Gaspar all coming in, as well as Tielemans also coming in from Anderlecht. That's what we got for AS Monaco. If you're joining us, we've just closed the transfer market, and we're just going through the deals that we've got. AS Roma doing something here. Rip Kasdorp also coming in. Maxi Kolanos. And then we have Cengiz Under from Bakashe coming in there. We have Giorgio Defrel. We have Alexander Kolarov and Patrick Schick These are the players AS Roma have been able to get in this transfer market. Okay, more deals to confirm. We can get to Barcelona, who donated the world's best player. I mean, maybe not the best player, maybe the most expensive player, maybe the most great signing, the most dramatic. Neymar left Barcelona, but Barcelona had to find a way. Paulino from Guangzhou Evergrande, one that is turning a lot of Barcelona fans on their heads. They can't understand. Nelson Semedo from Benfica. We had Gerard Deulofeu. We have Marlon as well. And Barcelona have also done some quite interesting deals. And you would know if you were following the star, the little star they call him, maybe the one who replaces Neymar, Ousmane Dembele, also making it for Barcelona. Let's see if we can confirm some more deals for you here on the show. Before we do the analysis, Bayern Munich. It's not been a very good season. No, I mean, by the standards of Ancelotti, who is known to be winning Champions League, he definitely knows that a lot must be happening. Now, James Rodriguez from Real Madrid, that was a big one. Nobody saw that coming. Now, Corentin Tolisso as well from Lyon. We have Serge Gnabry in for Werder Bremen. The Niklas Süle from Hoffenheim. Then we have Sebastian Rudi from Hoffenheim as well. These are the players that have gone in for Bayern Munich, and it will be interesting to see how they go through all of that. Borussia Dortmund, I think a couple of disappointments, because for those of you who felt that Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang was going to move and the likes, well, they've managed to keep their own. Maximilian Philipp from Freiburg getting into Borussia Dortmund. Dan Axel Zagadou from Paris Saint-Germain. Mamoun Dahoud from Borussia Mönchengladbach, and Amata Prague, of course, from Bayer Leverkusen, making it into Borussia Dortmund. More deals, and as we can confirm, we are 13 minutes after the transfer window has closed. And let's see what we've got in that. Just about wrapping up here on the deals we have. And we'll just end with us now, rolling up again there for you. So just about it. Inter Milan, they will try to match what AC Milan have done. But both teams have got money. So they've been able to splash the cash around. Dalbert from Nice for 20 million pounds there. Matias Vincio. We have Borgio Velaro. We have Milan Schringer. I mean, he's a great guy from Sampdoria. One of those guys that you felt that Inter Milan had really made a good move for. James Ogard. We have Nicolo Zaniolo, Daniele Adeli, Musa Soare, and of course Rigoberto Rivas, all coming in for Inter Milan in Italy. And I just can't wait for that Italian discussion where we find out what we should be truly expecting. Juventus themselves had to get in and do some job there. Douglas Costa is certainly the big one, and the one that catches our eyebrows in how they went through it. Juan Cuadrado as well from Chelsea, then Mehdi Benetia, then Rodrigo Bentancur, all making it into Juventus. What are they looking for? They've won 6 Scudettos and going. They'll be hoping to win the Champions League if they can. Hopefully not against any Spanish side in the final. That's been very difficult for them. Can we confirm some 1 or 2 deals just before we get it in and wrapping up what we've got? Paris Saint-Germain. Paris Saint-Germain, maybe not too many players, but players with just a lot of money because they spent so much here. Well, Yuri Berchichi was the man who moved in from Real Sociedad. Dani Alves, that was a stunning move, only to spark a whole series of Brazilian players moving into Paris Saint-Germain. It's Brazil's next. Neymar, the king of this transfer window. 222 million euros, 200 million pounds. $260 million. Neymar moving in from Paris Saint-Germain to Barcelona. Just a few more. And the final one will have to go to Real Madrid. Won the Champions League twice. A team that looks to have so many layers, with a very strong coach who is playing in the politics of most youngsters across Europe, especially when they are French. Zinedine Zidane. Dani Ceballos, of course, from Betis. And Theo Hernandez from Atletico Madrid. So this is what we've actually got for you in terms of the transfers. So we've closed the transfer market. Now time to do the analysis, and we'll be doing that obviously with the fans who will be joining us via Skype, on phone. We're also getting to the Facebook corner. But truly, we have to confirm deals that were locked into that. That's the reason you have to stay with us. I'm George Alder Jr. The transfer countdown is over. The transfer analysis upcoming.